Good afternoon and welcome to WIN TV, Washington Informer News. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, and I'm so happy to be with you another week because every week that I see you or you see me means another week of the Washington Informer. We've published another edition and, we celebrate every time we do. And because we know that we've been able to produce pages of content, good news about our community, despite all of the issues that have been affecting us over the last, actually, since the year began. And, the other day I woke up and I said to myself, good gracious, wasn't June the 1st just last week? And here we are now planning for July 1st and what's happening out in the community as it relates to the celebration, if some would call it that, of the 4th of July, and also all the issues that we're looking towards as our region begins to reopen. And sadly, also in addition to the increases of coronavirus infections all across the country. So we always want to make sure that you all are safe, that you are continuing to wear your mask in places that you need to, continue to wear your gloves, to keep 6 feet away, keep that social distancing in place, and just help us to get through this. There is an end. We don't know when it's going to be, but we look forward to having it be an end pretty soon. But we want all of us to be here to talk about how we made it through. So this week in the Informer, we've got the WI Bridge edition. That's our monthly publication geared primarily for a younger audience, for millennials. And they focused on Black Music Month. And we will have them, the folks from the Bridge, carrying on the last half hour of the program. But in the meantime, I am happy to bring on to the show one of our reporters, Mr. James Wright, who's been pretty busy this week covering things in the community. And so we thought we'd bring him on, particularly as we speak, as we are on the air right now. Members of Congress are on the Hill debating the amendment or the bill that will determine whether the District of Columbia will become the 51st state. And I've been listening all morning and heard some great, at least accolades for our Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, who's been carrying this for so long. And so, James, let me start with you. First of all, good morning and welcome to WIN TV.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
So, what are the prospects, do you think, of the bill that's going through the House right now?
I believe that this bill is going to pass fairly comfortably because the Democrats in the Congress, in the House, I should say, definitely support it. They support it because of Congresswoman Norton's and her seniority. This is an important point people have to understand, Denise. Had Congresswoman Norton been only in the Congress for 10 years, during this pandemic, she probably could not have convinced the leadership to bring up the bill at this time. But because of her seniority and her years, she was able to convince Nancy Pelosi and particularly Steny Hoyer to bring up the bill right now. So that just shows you the clout that she has in the House of Representatives. And the very fact that we're talking about this bill right now is an indication of how highly regarded she is in terms of not just the Democratic caucus, but even the House in general.
It's been some interesting points made during the House floor discussion. One, having Congressman Butterfield come on from North Carolina, who talked about all of the Black folks who've migrated to the District of Columbia and the role that they've played in making the city as great as it is, and why he thinks that his former residents deserve a right to vote. And then there was Congressman Hank Jones from Georgia, who I didn't know was from Washington, D.C., was raised in Washington, D.C. And so everybody seems to have a vested interest in this legislation passing.
Yes, and there's a Marylander by the name of Jamie Raskin. I had a chance to listen to him speak, and he was very passionate about the fact that the residents of the district, of 700 to 600,000 residents, pay federal taxes, serve in the military. They can be drafted, and yet they don't have a full vote in our national legislature, and how wrong that is. And he made an interesting point that I didn't think about. As you know, Denise, in the 1840s, part of the district was ceded back to Virginia. And so when the Republicans talk about anything in movement in terms of the city, it can't be because it's a federal enclave. He made the point is, well, Virginia got their portion back of the national capital. Then it gives us the impediments to create a state within the national, the original boundaries because of what happened with Virginia, which I
Hmm.
thought was very insightful of him. So it's a very interesting debate. I think the Republicans are just bringing out these tired arguments about the Constitution. This is not about the Constitution. So we don't even need to discuss that.
Right, right. Well, I want to move on too because we're talking about an issue. You know, we just celebrated Juneteenth, which is the celebration of the, and then you're from Texas, so I'm
Right,
sure
right.
you're intimately, interested in the Juneteenth story and the celebration. But we're now looking at the Fourth of July, and for people who are in the Washington area, we know there's been sounds like somebody's trying to reach you. So you
Okay.
got it
I'm a
straight.
busy guy, I guess.
Okay, yeah, good thing. So, but I know that you covered a press conference this week in front of the Wilson Building from some of a wholesaler and some of the retailers of fireworks. Evidently there was some allegations about discrimination against African
Hmm.
American owned businesses involved in the retail sale of fireworks. So can you talk about that?
Yes, there's a man, he's a longtime businessman here in the district. His name is James Peters III. He is the president of Capital Works, which basically sells fireworks to vendors who go out during the period of time between Memorial Day and July the 4th, where fireworks are very popular, and sells to vendors, primarily African American vendors, so they can go out and sell to the general public. The district is unique in terms of this industry is controlled by African Americans. That's very unique in this country. And the problem is that the district government, for particularly Vincent Parker of the District of Columbia Consumer Regulatory Affairs Commission, denied the permit citing COVID 19. And what really bothers Mr. Peters is the fact that Costco can still sell those type of fireworks, but he can't. And
Mm,
also, he just didn't like the fact that he wasn't told in a very timely fashion in order to be able to prepare himself. And let me just emphasize a point. Uh, Fireworks, some fireworks are legal in the district, some fireworks are not.
okay.
So the type of fireworks that Mr. Peters gives to his vendors, sells to his vendors, I should say, and then they sell to the public are the legal fireworks, not the illegal fireworks many people are listening to in their neighborhoods.
Right. Interesting point. Well, we all, I mean, we have a love-hate relationship with fireworks. You know, we hate those big booming
Oh yeah,
explosions, but we certainly do
oh yeah.
love the beauty that is created in those um, uh, in those fireworks. But I'm just glad that you were able to go out and hear Mr. Peters' side of the story. And I know that that's coming up in the Washington Informer. So, James, we
Yes.
could talk about so many other things that are going on right now, but we've run out of time. I want to thank you for being with us. I know you've got to get back to that hearing. So we'll look forward to see what happens as you continue to follow that. And also the new dynamics in the election and political landscape here in the District of Columbia. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We've got a new member on the DC City Council, it looks like, coming up
Hmm.
from Ward 2. And
Yes.
and Ward 4, actually. So we'll talk a little bit more
Hmm.
about that next time.
Okay, fantastic.
All right. Thanks a lot. It was James Wright, a reporter for the Washington Informer and always out there trying to get the story. And we're so glad that he was able to be with us today. We're going to switch right now to another topic, which is Black Music Month. But before we do so, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Complete the 2020 U.S. Census. It is safe and secure. It benefits your city, your community, and your family. Complete it online, over the phone, or once you receive it in the mail. You matter. Get counted. 2020 Census.gov.
We can't forget the census, and we're going to continue to remind you to make sure that you get counted. And if you haven't filled out your census form, you can do so online, and we will be running those commercials every time we're on this show. So we want you to make sure that we are counted in the District of Columbia and also other areas, no matter where you live, because I know we have folks all over the country, probably the world even, that are watching this show. So, but in the United States, the census is very critical when it comes to the allocation of resources for various programs within our community. And if we're not counted, we lose dollars. So we're going to move on now. It's great and an honor to introduce, I could call him my godfather actually, but because we were talking about back in the day, and I know so many of you all know Darrell Brooks. Darrell is been really active. He knows hip hop, he knows gospel, and all kinds of genre. He's launching a new music label, and we're going to talk about that. He's a DC native and owner of CD Enterprises. So hey, Darrell.
That was a flash. You found a song on it. Oh my gosh.
Fantastic. You know, I watched in those video photographs, I watched no beard to a longer beard to a white beard to now it's a shorter beard. Are you getting younger now? You're reversing?
You stay in the house for 3.5 months, you'll figure out other things to do. I've been on lockdown. I stick my head out the door, grab my food, and run back in. Hey, it's been a very different times that all of us are sharing.
Right. Darrell, I mean, I hate to say it but I mean, it's a fact. You've been around a long time. You've been in this music industry for your entire life almost.
Well, we'll put it this way.
Okay.
I started out just trying to be a nice guy that came out of Southeast. I was doing advertising. I was a school teacher. Got involved with a nonprofit arts organization, Compared One Incorporated, with Tony Taylor, Carol Kirkendall, and Macy Leatherwood, Gerald Scott. We started doing things in the community in Anacostia Park, over there, different community centers, with a deal that we had with the National Endowment, the DC Commission on the Arts, the Mayor's Office for Youth Opportunity, DC Department of Recreation. We had a very successful program in Anacostia called the Summer Hut, where we started evening concerts as well as doing workshops and educational programs. From my school teacher, Carol's school teaching experience, we ran art essay contests through the school system, had prizes, and we created a day called Human Kindness Day.
Yes.
Human Kindness Day had all the writing. It had a couple of little snags that I think we got caught up in the politics of the District of Columbia and the federal government, because we had a border truth between the two entities to deliver the things that we needed. And sometimes we didn't get the desired results at the end because not some of the national press didn't give us the favorable review because they weren't attached to it. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, your family, your mother and your father in particular, did a great deal during that time to make sure that the truth got out, as well as WHUR at the time and WL at the time. But that transition in 1975 to to turn us into a profit-making company because we had been doing concerts to match our grants, but now we changed the name instead of Compared to What Incorporated to Tiger Flower and Company. And we started doing concerts at Washington Coliseum, DC Armory. Then we graduated from DC Armory and started doing stuff at the Capitol Center. So once we started doing stuff at the Capitol Center, things kind of exploded, so to speak, because we started doing national tours in arenas with talent, that enjoyed what we were able to do because we had students that came out of our programs who are now part of the crew. So we ended up having guys who came out of our programs who now carry union cards to work at the IIT at DC and
Wow.
they build equipment on their own companies to produce shows. So it has grown and grown and grown. So I can stop talking because
but that's a fantastic thing, and I know there's a book in the works, right?
Yes, I have a very great gentleman who's been working on my book now for over years. So
wonderful.
Coming along.
That's good. That's good. So now, I mean, it's like you constantly recreate yourself, recreate the industry as your involvement in it, and so now you're talking about launching a new label.
What we did is, to be honest with what I did, I took the label that we did because we did a show back in '87 called Go Live at the Capitol Center, and that evolved from a need from the community. My crew had been on the road doing tours with Run DMC and Parliament Funkadelic. When we came home, there was a movie being made called Good to Go. So having a relationship with the local groups, I walked in the room and started hearing everybody kind of disgruntled because of how they were being represented in the movie itself. So we had a meeting at my office and we decided, okay, you know what, buck that, we'll make our own movie. Mm-hmm. We'll tell our own story.
Right.
And from a collaborative effort, listen to the words, a collaborative effort, we decided to shoot a video and do a big concert at the Capitol Center, which was very successful. And through that, everybody had something they could be proud of. And it's still being held up as a milepost and a podium now. I've seen it in the recent movies that TV1 just did on the Go-Go, and District did it on. So it came out of that. So we took that label and we activated. Right now I have product coming out on several groups, a Junkyard Band, Sugar Bear, We Are One, a tribute band, which is a tribute band for Frankie Beverly, and also Sirius and Company. Yeah, and there's a lot of things been evolving out of that because we now have a cable network that we'll now be able to broadcast live viral shows. And we got some community things that we're going to activate. So there's a lot of good energy coming. And what you said as far as constantly evolving, you and I both know, if anything keeps still, it's stagnant.
Exactly.
You don't keep moving, you have life. And I think that's what basically is happening because it's kept me from a beard to no beard. It keeps us moving.
So, we're in the midst of celebrating Black Music Month, which is June, but, and it's always, full of concerts. I know you do a summer concert every year, and this COVID has really
shut us
stuck
down.
a pin. Yeah. So again, how have you been able to innovate? Any new thoughts about?
Well, the only thing that's happened in our world, I've done probably about 3 virtual concerts in other places for nonprofit organizations, one in California, one in Florida, and one in Texas. And hire talent, and we go in the studio, we'll go to the person's home and have them broadcast to the different clientele, this organization. Been doing that. Also, as far as doing music, I've got music getting ready to come out, so that'll be able to transpire through the internet, etc. And hopefully hold on and wait till this climate change. There's some future opportunities coming into place. But I don't think it really comes into play until like 2021 or 22.
Right.
We had like 5 shows, 3 of them already sold out that we had to shut down, period.
Wow.
Our annual Summer Spirit Festival had to be put on hold to 2021. So obviously it has put a damper in our business, but strong survival, we keep on going.
All right. Well, we're about at the end. Is there anything that you might want to announce besides the new label, but anything else, anything coming up?
I think that's one called the One Go World Live, which is doing a broadcast this Saturday with Junkyard Band. I think if you have the opportunity to look on search on the internet and see that, that'll be innovative or something exciting to watch. Also, our release of Sirius and Company's new single that'll be coming out next week, to be honest. And
Okay.
that'll be she's ready. But at the same time, I want to say one thing. I want to say thank you to Washington, Oklahoma. You guys have been a lamppost, a guiding light for years. And please stay strong. I love your staff. I love what you've been able to do. I love reading your papers. So do me a favor. Stay strong.
We're going to do our best and continue to support, collaborate, you said. And I like that word, working together. So thanks a lot, Daryl. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
All righty. Have a good one. Daryl Brooks. Yes, it's been, years. And I remember when all of those programs, I'm sure there are folks out here that can even talk about Human Kindness Day and when they participated and how that would be such a wonderful event to return to the District of Columbia at some point in time. So maybe that can be put on our calendar, and I'm sure we would be glad to have some of those great artists out there that Daryl has relationships with that could come and celebrate in the District of Columbia. We're going to jump now to another guest who we're excited about. This is a young entrepreneur. And we're dealing with, he talked about COVID and how we have had to stay inside and try to find creative ways to stay inside and ways to keep ourselves busy, but also the ways to keep ourselves healthy. I've been hearing people joke over the last couple of weeks about COVID-19, which is the 19 pounds you gained from being inside. So there's a lot of work that we're all doing to try to come out of this better than we went into it. And so Halima Salakhan, well, I'm really glad to bring on a young entrepreneur who is coming up with some ideas. I mean, she's worked doing some things as it relates to gems and stones and crystals. I've heard a lot about this, Halima, but I haven't quite figured it out. So talk to me about what you've been doing.
Okay, so I have 3 different brands under my business, Design and Envision Yourself. One of them is Crystal Desire, and that is my space for crystal healing, crystal education, and all of those things. I have different services that I offer based on the needs that people are going through.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is crystal prescription. So people tell me what's going on in their life, what they need a crystal for, whether it be a specific situation or whether it just be very broad. And I would just give them the prescription with all the crystals that they need and which crystal helps which ailment and things like that.
Interesting. Can you give me an example of maybe one crystal that you work with who's like, I don't want to call it the wonder crystal, but is there one like that?
Yes, everybody has their wonder crystal. Mine is citrine. That's my favorite.
What is it?
Citrine. It's bright. It's very welcoming. I actually can show it to you right now.
Okay.
And the thing about citrine is it's the prosperity stone, so it's extremely powerful. I'm not sure if
you yes, I can see that. Okay. Yeah.
And these are our manifestation pens. They are newly launched. They each have a different crystal in them. There's 12 different to choose from so far. And like with citrine, with the prosperity stone, it's good for success, good luck. It's really good for the creatives. So if you're constantly working with your hands or your brain, it's a very good stone to help you get everything in place and in order.
I need to place my order today. So, I mean, you're not only doing that, but also, I mean, just how has it been you're creating dog treats? How did, do you own a dog?
I do. I own a little guy.
So you got it. He's your tester.
So he was actually how I started making my dog treats. I wanted to come up with something where he wasn't always eating food that was in a bag stored for months and months on end. And I began researching what good foods were good for dogs that humans eat, so I could just buy them with my groceries every day. And that's how it started. And now I've got 6 different treats on my website. Here's an example of one. Oh. And this is made with bacon and blueberries. It's our B&B bars.
Bacon and blueberries?
Bacon and blueberries.
Okay. All right. Okay. So how can people find you? Either to get a crystal or to get a dog treat? Their dog
Both
treats.
of them, all of my services are on one website, www.designinevents.com. And
Okay.
it's design, INNOEVENTS.
Wonderful. Where do you plan to go with this?
Everywhere. My ultimate goal with the dog treats is more so to have a more reputable service, especially in the Black community. I don't see very many people doing dog treats now in the Black community, and I felt like it was something that we could fit in and grab. I've done pup parties over the years, some at restaurants and bars, and some of them have just been at people's homes when they want to celebrate their dog's birthday. So it's just been branching off from there.
Right, right. Well, I wish you great success, and thank you so much for spending this time with us. And before, like I said, I'm going to call you about those crystals. So
Please do.
keep doing
And
what you do.
If any businesses want to be added to my Black business listing, please reach out to me and don't hesitate.
Okay, I forgot. We didn't talk about that. Your Black business list. Can we get that in really quick? Because you put, talk about that really quick.
It's on the same website. I have businesses from all over the country. I'm adding to it daily. I'm trying to cater to small businesses and those trying to get their name out there, but also the big ones are on there as well.
Wonderful. So you're listing, and are they categorized in any way, or?
Yes, they are, from household items to Black lawyers to creative to entertainment, the whole 9 yards.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And we certainly do want to raise that up, because if there's any time that's our time, it's right now. And so it's good to have what you're doing as a resource to make sure that we can support our Black-owned businesses. So thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Good luck. All righty.
Thank you so much.
So we're getting back now to the reality of the day. And, we talked about music. We've talked about what's happening in the city and on the Hill. But the reality right now is that the COVID-19 pandemic is still on us. We're still facing it. People are still getting ill. People are getting tested, which is a good thing, I think. And there's still work out there to try to get a vaccine. But in the meantime, we're having to really do our best to stay safe among ourselves and to make sure that we don't infect others. But we have as our next guest 2 individuals who actually, unfortunately, did end up with the virus, a husband and wife. And, I think they have some words of not only encouragement, but some words of advice for those in the community that still don't know the reality of this illness. And so I'm glad we're going to watch this little video, and then we're going to talk to Tharian and Marcy.
COVID-19 puts thousands of people in the hospital, but some never make it to this moment. It took 46 days to get here.
It's been a long time coming.
Weeks on a ventilator.
It was tough. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move.
And a wife who stuck to her faith.
It's by God's grace that we made it today.
When the Johns Hopkins medical team bid farewell, that's when the tears started to flow.
When I came off the ventilator, I thought something, because I didn't know what was going on. So my instinct is just to get up, and I couldn't move. So it scared me.
When he was on the ventilator and he was unconscious, they would let us call in and just talk to him through the phone.
It devastates your body.
Tears of joy and a celebration for a family who knows this could have been much different.
It's a homecoming, but it could have been a homegoing. And so that's why we're extremely grateful.
And maybe a day late.
5 years married yesterday.
But this couple is now able to celebrate another year of marriage.
She wouldn't let me give up. So I wasn't giving up. I was determined.
Wow. Wow. So glad to have the two of you all on the show with us today. And as was stated there, that could have been a homegoing as opposed to a homecoming.
Absolutely.
And yeah. So how are you doing, Darian?
I've come a long way, but I'm doing better. Still got a ways to go.
Yeah, there's a lot about COVID-19 that the community still does not understand, and that's why I appreciate you all coming on and sharing your story with us. Because we laugh about it, we joke about it, we try to wear our masks and try to stay 6 feet apart and all this other stuff, thinking. I mean, we took a little survey about people getting tested. There's still folks that would not even want to get tested. So, what is your message?
Our message is to all the available resources out there. We really feel like the people right now have a much larger advantage than we did. We didn't have the opportunities to get tested proactively. We weren't told to wear masks and gloves. We had to figure out a lot of that stuff the hard way. By the time we started to wear our masks and gloves, we had already been infected. We didn't know it at the time. And so, this is no laughing matter. It's nothing to play with, and especially for our community, because we have so many pre-existing conditions and comorbidity and mortalities. It's become a silent killer to us, and it's just really just no joke. I mean, we really truly encourage everyone out there to get tested, um, to listen to the CDC guidelines, and of course, take advantage of social distancing. It's really real, folks. Nothing to be played with.
I mean, how did you realize, Darian, what were the first symptoms that you had? Walk us through the very beginning of this ordeal.
Well, initially, I had a fever, and I didn't think much of it. I had really bad allergies, so my wife had given me some Tylenol or Robitussin, and it would break the fever. So I didn't think much of it. Several days after that, I developed a cough that wouldn't go away. And that was the sign that something more serious was going on. So my wife had made a promise to me. She said, if your temperature hits 101 and you continue coughing by Friday, I'm taking you in. And that's exactly what we did, not knowing that was going to be the last time I see her within 46 days.
And is it because it seems like a lot of folks don't even know when, where, how they got initially infected.
Yeah, we have no idea. We hadn't done any travel recently. It's still a mystery to us. It just came on. Now she had a mild case, but it was almost like a sinus infection for her. But for me, it actually took a different turn.
Yeah, we both work with the public, and we're around, people constantly. We go to church, to a large mega church, and we are, always around people. So we have no idea, to be honest with you. And I think that, that's the case. I don't think most people know, where they contracted it unless they got it, directly from a family member. So, we can't say that. And that's all the more reason why people need to observe social distancing and also get tested, because you just don't know. I mean, like you said, I was mild and they only tested me because he had the symptoms. I would have never have gotten tested. I just thought I had a sinus infection. So if I hadn't have got tested because of him, then I could have walked around and infected a number of other people, not knowing, because I was, pretty mild or asymptomatic.
When you were admitted into the hospital, I know that you all had some experiences. One, it had to be very difficult for you, Mary, not to even be able to see your husband for this period of time. I don't know. I'm sure you were there asking lots of questions, trying to figure out what's next, what's going to happen. And how did you work through that experience? How well did the hospital communicate with you? And I think you were all at Johns Hopkins.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was at Johns Hopkins.
Right. So how to talk about that from a caretaker standpoint.
Oh my God. Well, first and foremost, we cannot thank Johns Hopkins enough. They were phenomenal from the beginning to up until now. He's still under their care. And they call, several times a week and email and check on us. And we have virtual appointments and things to this day. But as we were going through the process, initially, of course, he was asleep. So I was the primary point of contact. And the nurses and the doctors were phenomenal. I spoke to someone at least 4 or 5 times a day, and they gave me periodic updates, which I actually charted, and I actually journaled, and I texted out to our prayer group as well. And so there's actually, a running record, if you will, of his progress. And that was just because of the communication with the Johns Hopkins staff. And so they were wonderful. They would let me conference call him. Obviously, when he was asleep, when he was on the ventilator, he was unconscious. But I would talk to the nurses and doctors several times a day, and they would put the phone up to his ear. And then as he started to come to, they would allow us to do Zoom calls as a family. And so they were excellent with communication. I mean, this is a horrible time to be in the hospital. Because of COVID, you can't see your loved ones. So the only thing you can do is really just depend on, the communication internally. But they were awesome, and I just can't give them just enough praise and thanks.
That's what's so critical. I mean, just to get information and the way that healthcare workers have done amazing things to just try to figure out how to help families. And so I'm glad to hear that
Yes.
news. I'm extremely, extremely glad. I feel like a part of the family now
Yeah.
because, knowing what your trial was and that you're here sharing that story with us and our audience. And I see folks, just saying yay on through our comments. So
Yeah.
I know that you're reaching people, and this was important for you to do that. And that T-shirt, Healed Husband, Praying Wife.
Yes.
I'm sure prayer got you through too.
Amen.
Both of you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
through.
Darian, what now that you've come through it, I know that you're still, under the doctor's care. Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling now.
Every day is different. I'm working to get started. I'm still having physical therapy outside. One of the challenges that I'm having is this disease really takes a toll on your body. I lost almost 50 pounds being in the hospital, so I'm really trying to regain my strength and my weight. Some of the problems with being on the ventilator in the prone position for so long, I developed a shoulder injury, so I'm having problems with my right arm. And of course, you still have to build your stamina. So I've come a long ways, but I have a little ways to go. So yeah, and the main issue that I'm having currently is because I was in the ICU for so long, they were constantly waking me up every 2 to 3 hours. So now my body's conditioned to wake up every 2 to 3 hours. So I'm having a hard time sleeping at night. So I'm constantly waking up. It's like clockwork, 12, 2, 4, 6.
Wow. Well, we will all continue to pray for both of you, and pray for your healing. But that you continue to share your message, because our community, as we know, is impacted the most by this virus. And like you said, there are a lot of homegoings that are taking place throughout our communities. But for your message, I think it will make a big difference. So.
Yes.
Stay strong.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okie doke. And we will probably talk to them. I'd love to get back with them in about maybe 2 or 3 months, just to see how he's doing. I'm sharing that message with our producer, Chevry, to see if we can get them back on again, because we'd love to know what the progress was like. And, we've talked to other people as well. One of our reporters, 2 of our reporters actually, had the virus. So, and they're both doing extremely well right now. So we can celebrate them. So we're going to take another commercial break. And after that, I'm going to leave you all for a few minutes because we're going to bring on the team from WI Bridge. And I'm so excited to have Claudia Watts, who will take over. She is the editor of The Bridge, and we're going to talk about what you can see in this month's issue of The Bridge. See you in a few.
Hi, I'm Ron Burke, Director of Advertising and Marketing for the Washington Informer. We are proud to serve as the leading multimedia company connecting you to the African American community. We know the Black community is disproportionately affected by COVID-19, and it is our mission to keep you informed of all the positive news that you can use related to this pandemic. The Washington Informer continues to operate daily, delivering news. And together with our hardworking and dedicated staff, we can do more to support your business. We are in this thing together, and I want to help you. Let me customize a solution that will help you effectively reach our more than 87,000 readers and subscribers. Our goal is to keep your business at the forefront of your customers' minds. We want you to come out of this stronger and better when this crisis is over, but we've got to get there together. Contact me today. I'm Ron Burke. I'm at 202-888-6835 or rburke@washingtoninformer.com. Let's work together and stay safe. Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, hey. Okay. So,
Hi, Claudia.
hey, Marcus. So I thought that we were gonna have like a little intro, but we're just gonna jump right into it. Hello, everyone.
You can still do an intro if you'd like.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to.
Fabulous.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Claudia Watts. I am the editor of The Bridge, and I'm here with Marcus Dowling, one of our contributing writers. And we're going to talk to you all a little bit about this month's issue. Yes. And so June is Black Music Month. And so in this month's issue, we look at music as a form of activism. We look at the history of punk rock and go-go and how they both started in DC and how they've come up together. We talked to Anais Laurent, who is the publicist for NPR Music. And so we talked to her about Tiny Desk and how I built this and what that's kind of done for DC's music culture. And then we also work with you to talk about artists and how they have been kind of navigating COVID. So, you know, summer is huge in DC for like festivals, outdoor shows, you know, and so we're really blindsided, you know, like everyone else by this. Right. But because what they do is so deeply connected to being social and in these spaces, exactly. It's kind of like their whole summers are gone. And so you spoke to Micah Robinson of The Musicianship. You spoke to April Vista. You spoke to Aaron Abernathy and Authentic about like, you know, their experiences. So kind of tell me a little bit about like each of those artists, you know, what they do and like how this has impacted them.
Yeah. So, okay. So in general, I think that the one thing that you can say about DC artists during the pandemic is that they've been unnaturally creative. I think that everybody is looking at DC as a emerging marketplace musically. So 2020 was expected to be a huge year. So we could start with April Vista, who were expected to be on a tour with Little Dragon. They're a Swedish-based electro soul band that has a really big independent following. And they were expected to open for them. And one of the fascinating things about that is that...
I love them.
Yeah, they have a pre-existing relationship with Little Dragon. So April George and Yukimi Nagano from Little Dragon are friends. So there was like a great opportunity for this like existing friendship that was emergent to turn into a larger opportunity for a group that's been at it for a while now and really putting in some good work. And so they, you know, they had their tour canceled. So they immediately went back into the studio. And if you know anything about April and Matt, they've kind of like started to emerge as people who, you know, think independently about making independent music. So they're very much iconoclast. And this time has allowed them the ability to be able to really redouble in that and create some of their best music. And they're not necessarily even worried about when they're putting it out, but they know that they want to find the most effective outlets and to be able to also turn that into something that is able to dovetail nicely with the potential of going back on the road once we can go back on the road with Little Dragon, which I think is something that's still in the books. Authentic is a, I've known Authentic, by the way, for, gosh, 8 years. So it was really a pleasure to be able to catch up with him. Because anytime I talk to Authentic, you get the sense of somebody who is both a producer and a rapper. So he works out of his own studio that is in the basement of his own home. So,
wow.
fascinating thing.
Dedicated.
Right, when you're dealing with COVID and he's working out of his own home and he has a staff that works out of his basement as well, like to organize that way and to still be able to stay semi in business. He did lose a lot of business, but he's still able to, like, retain some people that needed mixing and mastering services because obviously he can't record in his own home. So the person who is recording, of course, in his own home is Authentic. And for him, he's an older artist. He's like not like 1,000 years old, but he's certainly over 25. So this was a time for him where I think that a lot of maturation happened. I was just actually speaking with him before I got on, and the one thing that we again spoke about was the fact that for him it was not just COVID, but then the racial unrest that occurred after COVID. That for him made him think more about economy of words and the words that he was using, because language is a weapon, obviously, in times like these, and it's also a communicator. So you want to be able to find the happy space between both of those things and be very smart about what you say and how you say it. Speaking of Michael Robinson, Mike is doing a wonderful thing online for Black Music Month, where he is taking a broader scope of Black music, and he is looking at numerous genres outside of like the soul, gospel, R&B space, hip hop space. He is doing these cover songs that are fascinating. He's doing some gospel operatic. So he's doing some gospel style operatic covers. He's working with a guy named Dom Flemons, who is a Grammy Award winning folk artist. And he's a Black man from Phoenix, Arizona, who has relocated since to the DC metropolitan area. And he's doing that. So yeah, Dom's amazing. So Dom's a guy that, like, more Black people should be aware of who Dom Flemons is, because he's very, very gifted. On top of that, speaking with the musicianship, they are an organization that before COVID was 60% online, 40% real time. They have no physical office space, but they do physical events. Like they recently.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
that they were mainly online.
They're mainly online. They don't have a physical office. It's kind of
wow.
So yeah, like they're working. Everybody's largely working from home, which is weird, like. But they do such amazing work. Last year they acquired the Funk Parade, and of course they resuscitated the Emmy Awards. So both of those events have been canceled for 2020. The Whammies, just like Jessica Ticci, who's the director of community marketing, I spoke with her, and they have an online relationship now with Events DC. When you look at the article, when it's available online, you can notice that the one thing the musicianship does better than anybody in the DC metropolitan area, and probably anywhere in the United States, if I'm perfectly frank about it, they work well to manipulate public-private partnerships to effectively accomplish the work that they're trying to do. A lot of groups that do music, musician arbitering, like the musicianship does, they will oftentimes take on all the load themselves, and they get bogged down. Even as far as like Grammy takes on everything in-house, and we're going to work on all this stuff in-house. But the one thing that musicianship does is that they use a lot of the public arms and a lot of the private arms as well to be able to create this kind of like amazing umbrella of existing organizations and existing groups that are working with the musicianship to work to create musical benefits for the whole entire community. The one thing to note about what they're doing that's more important outside of the fact that the Whammies is going to be on Event DC's Gather platform over 5 days, I think from the 13th to the 17th. They have an online platform that they can use, and they're mobilizing that. But the other thing that's key is that they have successfully been able to continue their partnership with the DC public school system with getting kids access to music learning opportunities throughout the pandemic, which is incredible. So they've been able to get to get with teachers and
I was gonna say that's incredible. I mean, it's hard enough getting students with schoolwork. Right. So the fact that they have the infrastructure already to do that.
Yeah, they've been able to continue their music programming unabated, which is insane. Speaking of Aaron Abernathy, Ab is a guy who tours globally all the time. And he tours Europe all the time. So a fascinating thing with Ab is that Ab's probably not going to get back on the road for 18 months.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who works out of his own house. He lives over in Northeast. So he's like always creating. And he recently, at the end of last year, is another person I speak to all the time. Ab became he became a yoga practitioner. So yoga became a key part of his like adjustment to, middle age. And he released a EP at the beginning of 2020 that is all yoga meditations. It's available on his Bandcamp. So aaronathlete.bandcamp.com. You can check it out. And he is working on new music. And partially because of like where he's at in his career, he's like explored all facets of soul music and R&B in the last 3 or 4 years. He also did this yoga meditation. So he's moving in a more gospel and organically like soulful and holistic direction with his music. So he's been recording straight through. So he doesn't know when he's putting stuff out, but he's been working. So I think that's the one thing to note about where we're at creatively with the DC metropolitan area is that everybody is working. There's not an artist even the artist that I didn't speak to for this piece. Everybody's busy at work. Everybody's seen this time. I've told it's funny. I had a person told me either every singer should be songwriting or every songwriter should be singing, and so they've been able to do that. And it's been a fascinating time.
That's excellent. I mean, I'm excited to hear that, mainly because so many creatives have been scrambling, trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And with so much uncertainty, it's almost like either you can just kind of be very spiritual and go one way, or you can just keep working through, and ultimately things will work out. So now I know that you are a big music fan in general. I know usually when we do stories with the bridge, if there's a music story to be had, you're the person that takes it. So what, as on the consumer side, not on the musician side, what would you say, like, what do you think will be the next kind of wave or the next phase of opening, or what some of these smaller venues, for example, 930 Club, which is a staple in DC, what do you see happening there?
Okay, so most of these venues are going to be opening in phase 4. We're going to still have a little bit of time. And I think that the most fascinating thing to notice is that while there are some venues that will close, which is very unfortunate, the venues that are going to stay open are actively looking at social distancing measures. I talked to Joe Lapp and Songbird a lot. They're trying to figure out how to articulate that space. As far as like 930 Club, Anthem, spaces like that, they have a little bit more space to play with. And they're working to work with other national venues to kind of like assess how that needs to work, because I think that one of the things that is fascinating about DC and 930 Club and Anthem and places like that is that these are venues that are constantly sold out. And these are venues that actually, when we get back to having live shows, are going to be venues that will stay sold out. So whatever that number looks like, if it's 250 people in a 1,000 capacity venue or 1,000 people in 5,000 capacity venue, these are venues that are going to be sold out. So you're going to see a lot of, I think, the first wave of what social distancing indoors, if not in cars, at drive-in shows or whatever, looks like. And I'm actually really excited to anticipate what this will appear to be, because I think that for the next 18 to 36 months, coming out of COVID, or whatever that looks like, coming out of COVID looks like, that will be the bellwether test for what it looks like nationally, internationally. It'll actually have a large part of that will occur within the DC metropolitan area.
Okay, so now I think I have time for one more question.
Okay, cool.
So DC's always had, a rich kind of musical scene, right? Very local. But more recently, it's becoming to get a lot more attention from the rest of the world, the country, as a place where you can go and have a thriving music career.
Absolutely.
And there are so many smaller venues that make way for that and that add to the city's culture of music. And with the pandemic and social distancing, it seems that we're going to lose a lot of those. Like in the like what we just spoke about, we talked about 9:30 versus Anthem. And so, I mean, Anthem is newer, it's on the wharf, like it's probably going to weather the storm. It's quite possible that the 9:30 Club does not. Earlier this week, 18th Street Lounge, which was, a place where we go to listen to live music, announced that it would be closing. And that venue is actually pretty large. There are a lot of rooms in there. You would think that
capacity,
you would think that they would start kind of thinking of a new plan. And, they also own Marvin, which is another space where there is outdoor music and that's contributed a lot to DC's culture in terms of going out and everything. So what do you think that impact is going to be on the city, like in terms of its trajectory in the music world as a whole, and what it's going to do for the artists here?
Okay, so fascinating to this point is Bandcamp and other like independent arms for sourcing music, purchasing music, and also places like Instagram Live and whatever Spotify decides to do as far as accessing like live live playing of music. I think that there's something fascinating in the sense that all of the artists that are emerging in the popular scene that come from DC are also artists that are probably more comfortable playing in front of smaller or no crowds than playing in front of 10 to 20,000 people. I think that there's something to note when you look at a group like April and Vista. They're great playing in a 9:30 Club. They're also great if they played literally sitting behind me on my bed. I think that there's a lot of, when you look at where we go as an industry of music, and it's like as far as the creative arts in general, artists who are human and artists who connect humanly are fascinating. I think that there's something that will be noted about how these artists are personable and intriguing and have far more personality and something that translates to only in front of 25,000 people. So I think that that's something that's heartening about where we go with this, is that our artists are probably best inclined to be heard and enjoyed and taken in these kind of spaces.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Marcus, for being with us today. And and so enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And Denise is going to hop back on. We're going to chat for a second.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty. Bye.
All right. Okay. Bye.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me because I was
there
muted.
we-
Great interview. Great interview. You all did a fantastic job with the bridge this month, and the photographs were amazing. And so I'm curious, what do we have to look forward to in July?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. You totally put me on the spot. You totally put me on the spot. I actually have a meeting with Lafayette tonight this evening at 4:30 to kind of talk about that. We had planned some different things out for the last few months that we kind of had to pivot on, given the times with the pandemic and the different unrest. It would have been irresponsible not to address those things.
Yes.
But it's still, some of the themes that I would like to talk about still are a little out of place. For example, it's not very considerate to talk about travel right now.
Although everybody's looking at places where they'd like to go, they're looking at, they're debating whether they want to be on a plane or not. They're trying to figure out, what a staycation looks like. No, I got you. I mean, so I can see where that would be a dilemma, but it would be a very interesting look at what travel is going to be like moving forward. So I'm with you on that one.
But you're right. A lot of people, my brother is in a cabin now with friends. I'm going to go somewhere in August. Mm-hmm. People are trying to get out now. I think that you're right. There's one foot in, 1 foot out.
Right. It's how do we do it and stay safe?
How do we do it and stay safe?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Yes, well, thank you so much for doing this. You all always have a place in Win TV at least once a month, right before the week that your issue comes out. But any other time, we certainly look forward to having you all with us, and you're a great host.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I was told that we were getting added to the lineup on a regular basis today.
Good. Okay.
I was voluntold this morning.
And I was just voluntold as well. So we will move forward. We'll have that conversation probably after you all talk.
Awesome.
All right. Have a great one.
All right.
Stay safe. Bye. Okay. Bye-bye. So that brings us to the end of another edition of Win TV. Again, it's been a great program. We're thanking all of you all that've been watching and sending in those comments. Again, after listening to Mary and Therion, we know, Marcy and Therion, you know that this thing is not over, and we have to do what we can, not only to keep ourselves safe, but to keep others safe. So having said that, I'm going to sign off. We're about to enjoy one of our photo presentation. I want to thank the crew, Chevy Lassiter, Blair Hardison, and also Anthony Tillman, Lafayette Barnes, Tatiana, and Dave. All of those folks that are out there that are helping to make this show possible. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Be safe.